Welcome back to episode 6 of JuicedCast, a podcast made for resellers by resellers. I'm super pumped for this episode, especially with episode 5 last week, where we kind of got a lot of feedback from y'all on all different platforms, from Spotify to Instagram. Me and Saucyy really appreciated that, so I'm super pumped for this episode and today's episode and the content we're going to bring to our listeners this week. Saucyy, how's it going?
I'm doing well, man. Happy to be back. Welcome back, guys, for episode 6. Like DTX said, we've had a really good amount of support from you guys now and really getting a lot of good feedback from you guys. Keep them coming. We're really excited to bring more for you guys as we progress through our episodes. Just wanted to, start off by giving you guys a recap of, for those of you that may have missed our last podcast or those of you that have listened to it. Last time we talked about organization, which is very, very important, and ways to stay profitable and acquire product. Now, today, we are going to flip the script. We're going to discuss how to get rid of product, how to flip it, how to reinvest, and the proper ways to sell things. So DTX, get us started and just give our listeners a little insight into how you go about selling your product and what that process is after you've acquired product.
So back when I started reselling, I kind of started off selling things on eBay and platforms like that. And then as I was able to grow my own client base, whether it be in, in the area that I live in or in the United States, which is the country I'm located in, I've been able to kind of establish a good and reliable client base. So I kind of started off selling on eBay, and now I don't sell on apps anymore. I don't sell on any of that. I've established a client base that whenever I get something, I can just post on Instagram or post on whatever the platform may be, and then it's able to sell out or able to sell at a good pace. So I've just found that like doing that is the most effective. You don't have to pay fees. You can like sell to people that you can give them better prices because you're avoiding those fees. It's a win-win for everyone, and I feel like I'm in a good place by just selling to a small but very reliable client base I have.
Okay, that's really interesting. Yeah. I know that, at the moment, there is so much at our disposal for reselling, right? We have so many different platforms like StockX, Goat, eBay, Grailed, and some people even use like Facebook Marketplace. And you can even use social media to sell your stuff, right? You can sell stuff on Instagram, Twitter, and even Discord. I sell on Instagram and I sell locally as well, just like you. And I do have plans to, start launching a Shopify web store myself to get product moving, which I think is really cool. What I wanted to go over today with you guys was just getting an idea of the mix of platforms and what you get out of each one. Which I guess through this explanation, maybe you guys will have a better idea of what works for you, right? So as I mentioned, right, we have StockX and we have Goat. Those are really, really big ones. And one thing to consider as a reseller is when you're selling on these big platforms, they do have a lot of seller fees. And that's what, most experienced resellers tend to stray away from because, when you're looking to generate a good amount of profit, you don't want that to be shrunk simply because of, the seller fees. But the thing is with StockX, at least, the more and more you sell through them, the lower and lower those fees get. And then, if you look towards eBay, they have zero fees, which is really interesting. And recently they've launched also their authenticating, element to their platform, and they don't have fees for sneakers over $100, right? And then when it comes to selling on social media or selling on Discord, it's really important to familiarize with the vocabulary, familiarize with the marketplace, and so on, right? And we briefly touched upon it before, DTX, right? How we talked about like WTS, WTB, and WTT, right? And all those things mean, right? So WTS is want to sell, and WTB is want to buy, and then WTT, obviously, it's want to trade. GTX, why do you choose to stray away from them yourself? And how do you go about finding clientele more personally? Like, how do you go about that?
Reaching out. So a lot of the things I kind of do in like my personal life outside of reselling have been able to get me, connections to sell shoes, whether it be the fact that I play certain sports, meeting people in that sport that also have interest in shoes and want to buy like shoes or whatever it may be, right? So just finding people that also have an interest in shoes, want to buy shoes, but like don't want to pay the high StockX price. I can always beat those prices, right? So it's just just finding people like that, and then they buy the shoe, and then they're like, their friends are like, oh, where do you get that? And then they tell them about me, and then just growing and growing and growing. Now, I also have been recently selling to stores. I found that to be very profitable, whether it be you're consigning or you're selling straight up to them. They're always going to be paying a little bit more than other people because, stores tend to tax on every item because that's just how sneaker stores work. So I've just found those methods to be very effective. And like I said, I started off selling on platforms. It was great, but just doing this is so much easier, having your money held up in like platforms, not like, and just meeting new people. I've met people that have been able to help me get, further in things outside of sneakers through sneakers. You know what I mean? I've met people through this community that, have furthered me in things that I do outside of um, reselling. So it's all about building connections and seeing where those can lead you. I think that's something beautiful about the sneaker community is that there's people from all over the world that do all types of different things, and just the connections that you can build through the sneaker community can take you so far.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think, you stress the importance of networking, right? You really have to put yourself out there and meet new people, right? When you first start off as a beginner, you tend to look towards your local community. You try to stay comfortable with people people at your school, like you mentioned, people who have mutual interests, whether it may be a sport or any other hobby or club, let's say, that you're a part of. And that's how you sort of branch off. What was really interesting was that you mentioned that you sell to stores, right? Or like boutiques and other resellers. Um, Now I do know that, they are always looking to purchase items, no matter when or where. But they also do offer other services such as consignment. What are your thoughts on like consignment, and are those are those useful? And are they, would you recommend that route for the average reseller?
So I've consigned around 2 times. And the relationship I have with the store that I consigned with is very good. So they're able to, the second it sold, they texted me and they're like, the product sold. We'll send it to your Venmo right now. That easy. You know what I mean? It was a seamless transaction, and that's just because of the connection I have with the store. I've heard horror stories with consigning, so I don't recommend it to everyone. I just recommend it if you have like a good connection with your local store or whatever it may be, or a store like near you. Definitely try it out. Try selling to them first, seeing if they'll offer you a good price, and if they don't, say, "How about I consign?" Make sure they give you a good percent. Make sure there's a good percentage there too. A lot of stores tend to charge 20 to 25%. I find that to be too much. I usually won't consign unless it's 10 to 12.5%, but that's also because I'm giving them bulk. I never give them just one shoe, two shoes. If you're giving them one or two shoes, then like they're gonna charge you 15 to 20. Recently with the store that I consigned with here in the US, I gave them around 6 pairs, which isn't a lot, but it's like not bulk. It's a decent amount, and they charged me 11%. But to another store here, I gave them quite a bit of stuff, not only shoes, but I gave them T-shirts and all that, and altogether they only charged me 9% of the total sale. So it really depends. I don't recommend you consigning at 20% because at that point you can just make more possibly off of StockX or off of eBay or whatever it may be. But yeah, I just I think that stores, it really just depends on the situation you're in and what you feel most comfortable doing.
100%. Yeah, I agree. I can see what you mean by that. Now, you mentioned that you do it from, time to time. What sort of influences that, right? Because we have, as we mentioned earlier, so many platforms at our disposal or so many networking resources and people to sell to. What really plays a role in you deciding where or when you're going to sell something?
Um, so a lot of the time stores, especially with the store that I was mentioning before, we have a really good relationship. So it's like you scratch my back, I scratch yours type of thing, to where I'm gonna sell them, like I've sold them bulk straight up, and they've paid me like well over ask on StockX, right? and like no one else is going to beat that. And I really appreciate that. So I'll go and I'll be like, here, I'm going to send you all the stuff we can consign, versus me selling somewhere else I could possibly make a little bit more of the same. It's kind of like everyone eats, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, um let's find a way to make this advantageous to all. Kind of get an idea what I'm saying? So that's
Yeah,
the
that's a
reason
really
I
good point.
sell to stores, is because it's how can everyone make money, because that's kind of what we're all here to do.
Yeah, yeah. I think, it really helps build a foundation and set the mark for good, long lasting relationships, right? But as we mentioned, sort of this idea of when's a good time and when's not a good time. I think this brings me to my next topic, which I really want to dive into, which is the importance of like hold versus sell, right? When should you let go of a product? How much money is worth holding on to an item for, right? Like we get tons of product as resellers, and the biggest question for us is, is it worth holding on to a pair of shoes simply because they'll go up another extra $50 when you could have had the entire initial investment back into your bank account to reinvest and multiply your income. So how do you go about deciphering whether or not something is good to hold or something is good to sell?
um to be honest, I just sell everything, and the reason I do that is because I've done holds in the past and they've been really profitable, but unless I have a certain amount of that pair, I don't want to hold, because it's like, all right, let me just give you an example. I'm not going to name a specific shoe. Let's just say shoe A has a retail of 170. It's a Jordan 1, and after tax, I'm paying 184. Foots don't charge shipping on those, so I pay 184 and I get 20 pairs, right?
Mhm.
So now I have 184 times 20. 184 times 20 is 3680, I believe. So I have a $3,680 investment, right? So either I can sell that and I can make, let's say, 5,000, or I can hold and I can make 6,500, 1,500 more. But the hold is 5 months. Do I really want to hold for an extra 1,500 when I can sell now, make 5,000, and put that 5,000 into something else that can make me more than 1,500? Do I make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
I,
it's
I
kind of,
couldn't agree more about that.
yeah. So
We have other sort of like influencers in the media, right? There's like, I think this guy named Sneaker Invest. He has been the face of sort of like bulk buying and holding and stuff like that. And one thing that he mentioned, which was really important, which was how much capital you need to actually invest into holding. And he said, it's really important to maybe have around 5 to 10K worth of capital. What do you have to say about that? What do you think? Like, do you think, if you did have that money to spend, it'd be worth it
mm,
or not? Because I myself, I'm similar to you in the sense that I think, having liquid cash in your hand is a lot more valuable and a lot more flexible to be able to use it however you please.
So I have quite a few friends that actually do just invest. And someone I know, he bought a huge amount of mochas, and what he did is he just held on them, and he has a job outside of reselling, and then he just sold them, and he made around $10,000. Now I understand, like, that's promised profit. No other place that where you invest can make you that amount of, like, guaranteed money, right? Whether it be the market, whether it be crypto, it's not guaranteed. This is guaranteed money, right? Do I make sense? It's like,
Yeah.
if I'm going to buy this amount of shoes, it's guaranteed return. And that's very scarce in today's world. And I understand why people invest. For someone like me who's a reseller who's constantly flipping inventory, it doesn't make sense for me. But for someone else who has, let's say 80, $90,000, and they can put $20,000 on the drop and be like, all right, I have like 80, 90 pairs. This is going to make me $10,000 whenever I'm all said and done holding. Yeah, 100% go for the hold. Otherwise, like, I want to, keep having my money in circulation, keep, like, having my inventory being like flipped. So like right now I have, a certain amount of shoes that I'm shipping out, and then tomorrow I have like more shoes coming in. It's just a constant, cycle. Do I make sense? So it's
Mhm.
like, just keeping that cycle going is super important to me. But for someone else who, might not have the same time I do, may not have the same time as I do for reselling, as like, I put in, a good amount of time into it. It's not a full-time job. It's not even a part-time job, but I put in good time, and they might not have that extra time, right? So they'll just buy a certain amount of shoes. They'll put it down as an investment because it's a guaranteed return. They have a full-time job outside of sneakers, right? So I understand why some people invest, and it's guaranteed return. Like I said, it's super scarce in today's world. But for someone like me, it just doesn't make sense. For someone like you were saying, it doesn't make sense. For full-time resell or not full-time resellers, but like for people that, just resell and for like, their kind of income, like it doesn't make sense. I hope like the way I'm saying it, and putting it together kind of makes sense. But what I'm trying to say is like as a reseller who's, constantly trying to get new inventory and constantly, trying to please his clients, a whole just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think, one thing where I would probably sort of defer from you in that regards is as we approach certain seasons, right? You and I, as we study the markets, we study sneakers, we study reselling, right? We are able to recognize and identify, seasons and market trends and who our clientele really is, right? I think what's really, really important, that we should all know as resellers when it comes to at least sneakers is recognizing, certain times of the year where sneakers will go down and certain times of the year where they'll peak, right? How markets work and how stocks work, right? In any industry is they go up and down. That's how they are. There's a lot of volatility in them. You said a real thing about sort of how, long-term investments in the sneaker industry at least are guaranteed, returns. When it comes to, holding them and stuff like that, I think it's really important to recognize the summer and Christmas, right? Those are usually times where the sneakers start to come back up. People like to buy, shoes for themselves for the summer coming up. They like to buy them back to school, and people like to buy them for friends and family around Christmas time. And what's also really important is to realize the market for shoes coming up to a release date, right? When you're checking the market value for a sneaker before it actually releases, it could be highly, highly inflated simply because it hasn't released yet. And what you'll find is, if you're looking to pre-order shoes or maybe essentially um, buy shoes from the reselling market ahead of time and get unreleased sneakers, the price will drop significantly once they've released. And then obviously they'll slowly climb back up, but that's something to definitely keep in mind. In our previous podcast, we talked about other ways of making money. And DTX talked about, his pools. And we've also talked about like sort of in the brink of COVID-19, how in-home gym equipment was very important. How did, you go about identifying that and understanding the market trends and the consumer trends of what's really in demand and what's hot now, DTX?
To be honest, I just go for new releases, kind of going around that, or what like, clients may need. Um, I mean, like for example, in Christmas, there's a lot of around December, November time. There's a lot of good releases, profitable releases. Like last Christmas we had, or last October we had the mochas, right? And kind of, can you help me out with like recalling what happened last year? I have a horrible memory when it comes to releases, but we had the mochas, we had the Grinches. What else do we have?
Oh, we had, I mean, there were the unions, there were tons of releases, there were the
Unions.
sales back in the
Yeah,
summer when we were really ramping stuff up, right?
yeah.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot.
So it's just like I to be honest, I kind of just go for new releases. I don't really focus on the seasons as much now. Whenever in the United States the stimulus bill came out, a lot of people were willing to spend a lot of money on shoes, and that was the best time of the year for me personally, is because a lot of people were like, "All right, can I cop two pairs? Can I cop two pairs? Can I cop two pairs? Can I cop two pairs?" And like, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I want to cop four pairs. I want to cop." It was mostly two or three, but that was the best time of the year for me personally, because a lot of people were like, they got some money and it's time to spend it, and spend on some shoes or whatever it may be, or they got a bonus from work, and then on top of the stimulus they have extra money to spend on shoes. So it like you said, it kind of goes down to the like seasonal, but it also just goes down to like what the situation is in your country's economy as well. I think that plays a huge factor, and it's definitely something a lot of people don't look too deep into.
Yeah, 100%. Studying your market is honestly what is going to play a pivotal role in terms of your success in this industry. What's really cool is, I wanted to bring this up, which is, Juiced.io we provide, resale guides and predictions and stuff like that, and that really helps, the average reseller um, able to, dictate whether or not they should or shouldn't go after a shoe, and whether or not it fits their capital and their investment plans. Um, Now, as we look to, selling yourself towards your consumers and the relationship you have with your consumers, how do you build those relationships, and how do you make sure that, um, there is trust amongst you guys? What do you do about sort of like references and ensuring that you have reviews to show for future clients, and so on?
Um, can you kind of repeat that again? Like,
So, yeah, yeah, no problem. So, we have several clients that we sell to, right? Whether it may be
yeah.
on the day, every day, or weekly, or whatever it may be. And the most important thing when we're engaging in transactions and business with other people, it's really building trust and building a good relationship through references or reviews and stuff like that. Because, for some of our listeners now who might be just starting, let's say, they need to find a way to advertise, or I guess show, that they are trustworthy, show that they are good resellers, show that they're good business partners, right? How have you built that up, and how do you go about that from client to client?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, at the beginning of my reselling journey, I was so focused on refs, and I thought that meant everything. So I would ask people here, can you leave a ref? I'd buy like shoes from people like, and I'd be like, can you leave one? Or I would, sell something and I'd be like, can you leave one? I don't remember the last time I asked for a ref. And I have a hot take, and a lot of people disagree with me, and that's fine. And I personally think refs mean nothing because they can be faked so easily. They can be, to me, I really could care less about references. And you can see that I don't ask like for them at all. Sometimes people will leave one, and that's cool. But like, the reason I don't care is because I've done sales from people. I've done sales with people that have been like, in large numbers, and they didn't even ask for refs. If you're being like a lot of these bigger resellers and a lot of these, more bigger professional guys like stores and stuff like that, they don't care about your refs. They just care about getting the deal done. And if you act professional and you act, you act a part and you act like, you're down to do business, refs won't mean anything. I think the only time I check refs is when I see someone like, who's kind of being not that serious or just being a clown in general. I'm like, all right, this guy's, kind of, um, he's a little suspicious. Let me go check his Instagram. Now I check his refs. Oh, he has this many refs. Okay. That's the only time I'll check. Other than that, I really just don't find the purpose in refs, and that's my hot take. A lot of people disagree with me, like I said, but I kind of have a mentor in the sneaker industry, and he was telling me, he was like, dude, refs mean nothing. And he kind of explained it to me, and after I actually like stepped away from it and didn't care that much, I actually saw an increase in sales and an increase in reoccurring customers. So like for me, I do not care about refs.
That's really interesting. I mean, I myself sit on the other side of that opinion. I think refs are really important, but I think, I mean, you brought up a really good point, which was just keeping professionalism. When it comes to references, at least, like I would say that, I use them simply for the option of having them in my arsenal, right? Like I think the thing
Yeah.
is, refs can't necessarily hurt you, and that's how I
Yeah,
see them.
100%.
Um,
I have them too. Like I want to add like really quickly. I have refs on my Instagram and like my social media. I have references. They're there. I just don't ask for them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think, it really, like you said, it's about keeping professionalism and just having a standard of quality with your business, right? Um, you said that, since you don't use references as much, how do you go about like sales? Like I said, establishing that trust comes one way or another through a certain method. Some people may send pictures, some people may, keep receipts or tabs on their purchases and the stuff they're going to be reselling. What do you do for certain clients?
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I don't do much because it's like a lot of these clients I hear from mutual friends or a lot of these stores. It's like they need the product so desperately, like they just skip over the references part, and they're pleased. It's because with my service and with my professionalism that these like a lot of my clients, like they're not only just a client, they're also like a good homie of mine, or like a lot of these store owners, are people that I talk to. not just about shoes. I'll like ask them, are you watching the sports game right now? Are you seeing this? Or like, with we'll talk about all different types of stuff. Like whenever they come to me and they buy stuff from me, it's, you're not only a client, you're someone I'll talk to about other things as well. Just building that relationship means a lot. So just kind of doing that and like just building their trust, I guess. But like a lot of the time, especially now, in like the kind of stuff that I do, in reselling and shoes, I wouldn't say I've built a name, but like, I have a reputation, that, like no people know that, oh, DTX isn't gonna scam me over $200 shoes because he has this reputation. Do I make sense? So
Yeah.
once you have a reputation that precedes you, it's, like I said, refs won't mean much.
hmm Well, that definitely makes things easier for sure. I mean, for those listening who, tried to sell on other platforms, like, for example, like Facebook Marketplace or like eBay and stuff like that, um, you know, photos really play an influential role. You have to make sure that they look good, they look of great quality, and you seem trustworthy. And you throw on maybe, your business card on top of that photo to make sure that it's not like you're taking it off the internet, right? Those are really important key things to make sure that you're able to sell your goods online. There's some tools out there, I don't know if, DTX, you've had experience with them. Other things such as like you said, you don't use eBay very much, but for those of you that use eBay as a platform to resell, they have things like eBay Viewer. And how these work are basically they pretty much bump up your post and they make it get more views, have more popularity so that more and more people who are searching the same product will more likely come towards your listing, which is kind of cool. But when it comes to, we really stress the importance of professionalism when it comes to transactions with people. Um, if you're selling, via like Instagram, or if you're selling, via Discord or Twitter or whatever it may be, you're getting clients who you might not know personally. And obviously you might be using a refs like we mentioned or not. But what's really important is establishing that great customer service, right? When you're shipping off, at least for myself, you need to make sure that you're using good packaging, right? The last thing you want is a client to receive your product and they're unhappy with it because it either got destroyed or, it just wasn't packaged properly. That's really, really going to make or break future partnerships or business transactions with the same client over and over again. And DTX, you said, in the past that you really invested into making sure that you were able to advertise your stuff, your portfolio and your canvas of who you are through business cards. Why don't you talk a little bit about the importance of business cards and how they've played a pivotal role in terms of your ability to network and get in contact with a lot of people?
That's a great question. So a lot of these times I'll meet up with people for sneakers and their friends will come and they're like, dude, I really want to get the shoe. And I'll be like, all right, I got you. I keep my business cards on me. I'll give it to them and has my Instagram on there and it has my Twitter on there and has my Discord on there. And wait, actually it does not have my Discord on there. It only has my Instagram, my Twitter, and my name. Um, just like DTX, .SNKRS, sneakers, and that's basically all I do now. Recently, I haven't been using business cards that often. I don't know why, but um, I've just kind of been lazy to go to sneaker meetups, and I'm trying to change that now. Especially with COVID getting a lot better here, and there's going to be a sneaker con here in the United States in Dallas, Texas. It's going to be the first sneaker con since COVID, so I'm definitely going to try to go out to that. And if anyone else is going to that listens to this podcast, DM me on Instagram. We can try to meet up. But yeah, it's I'm gonna be going to a sneaker con, and by that time I'm gonna definitely get some new business cards and some stickers. I got some stickers yesterday, and just gonna be going to network like to every booth and like introduce myself and give them my card. And it's just all about networking, right? At the end of the day, the sneaker community is all about networking and how you can put your name out there and the better you network, the more successful you will be. It's correlated, and it's just a fact in this industry.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Now, we've gone through a good chunk of sort of selling the product and stuff like that. Let's take a break from that for now and let's jump on to some like upcoming drops right now. I know that we had the Raging Bulls and you had your experience with that. I'll let you share with our listeners in a couple sec about that drop and how that went for you. And let's get into the upcoming Jordan 1s that are coming out this Saturday, and talk a bit about those.
So these are, um, it's a big drop, and right now, things are kind of like at the time that we're recording this. Uh, it's it seems as if men's are being pulled from foots. So I kind of don't want to comment on it too much until like we kind of get a better idea, and I'll definitely tweet about it so you can follow my Twitter. We'll put that in the link in the description. But as of right now, it seems as if just grade school are going to be dropping on foots. So if that's the case, it's going to be a very, very difficult drop. As we know, like this past drop, if you ran for the Raging Bull fives, it was kind of a weird drop. It was like, all right, this was supposed to be easy. I was expecting to hit, or personally expecting to hit 10 to 15, maybe more. I only hit two, and I ran like the top foot side spot. So it was very, very weird per se, but like I guess that's kind of foot side spotting now with Qt and everything. We're also just kind of in a trial and error phase, including the devs. So you can't really get mad. It's out of our control. And just bouncing back to the next drop.
Yeah, yeah, I couldn't agree more about the foot sites. You know, like right now, at least for Foot Locker CA, there's only a few couple bots, and not really big top tier ones that have some bypasses, and they're the ones really taking the stock right now. So it is definitely a trial and error phase, and I think proxies are playing a really influential role in terms of people's success now. And it's gotten to the point where I'm not sure which provider to always be using. I'm really just finding new ones to use every drop, and seeing which ones work, keeping those, and flipping them every single time. I think, hopefully we don't have too many issues with delays or stuff like that. It really is difficult to tell from the time being. I think the funniest thing is that I've noticed with a lot of clients that reach out to me for like ACO or stuff like that is, they usually say, oh, do you have any details on site lists, or updates on what's really dropping, what sizes and all that? And I go, as resellers, we don't even know very much ahead of time. We really find out a couple days before, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, 100%.
Why do you think that is, though, in terms of the information that we get? And why do you think it's not as, I guess, like organized in that regard? Would you say that COVID-19 has played a pivotal role in that at the moment?
I feel
Or
like
is it
COVID,
just
yeah,
lack of disorganization? Like, what do you think it
100%
is?
COVID has to be COVID-19. Because from what I hear, this wasn't a big problem before COVID. So that's my assumption.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, today we managed to cover quite a bit in regards to, selling, getting rid of product, flipping it, and making sure that you understand the difference between holding and selling, and what, fits your business outlook and goals. We're looking to expand in the next couple episodes, and maybe based on your feedback, we'll see if you guys want us to get into sort of retail botting and talking about, other forms of botting besides just sneakers, right? There's a lot of cooks that are happening and that have happened in the past in regards to consoles and like GPUs and even collectibles and stuff like that. And is that is something we can definitely sort of dive into as we progress with you guys. So please definitely leave us some feedback and some comments and suggestions, because that really helps shape our podcast and tailor it towards what you guys are looking for.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more with Saucy. And this episode was, I enjoyed it just recording and kind of like, helping you guys out with these drops. Like these past six episodes has been fun, and seeing your success and Juiced has been, you know, um, really pleasuring to me and Saucy. And, just seeing your feedback on Instagram and Spotify and DMs and Twitter has been, really good to see. And, yeah, I'm hoping next week, like Saucy said, we can expand. And I think this was kind of the end of our little mini series of botting and organization. And we're definitely gonna expand in the next episode. And we'd love to hear more feedback from y'all. Keep killing the engagement, and let us know if you like this episode, or if you'd like to get more specific things to like other things you kind of want to know about the sneaker industry. We got you. And like we mentioned in the last podcast, we can dive into anything you guys want. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Saucy, you want to add anything?
No, that's about it. Thank you guys for listening, and until next time, peace.